Hey, so this is a video that a few people have been asking for, and I've never really given a detailed breakdown of our net worth and what all of our money is currently doing, so thought I'd give you an update. 3 years seems like a pretty good time. I quit my job 3 years and 2 months ago, and we've just been doing part-time work from there. At the time, we were at about $320,000 net worth. Current net worth is somewhere between $410,000 and $420,000. And yeah, so let's get into the breakdown of where my numbers are. And by the way, this isn't meant to be a guide for other people necessarily. I'm not saying this is the way to manage your investments. It's just that a lot of people have been curious to get kind of a snapshot of where all our dollars are. So let me give that to you. First of all, we're a family of 2. And I like to keep about $5,000 in our checking account. My theory with that is we don't really have any bills that come due that are more than $1,500 pretty much ever. So by keeping $5,000 in the account at all times, it's kind of impossible for it to ever get overdrafted, because that would require like 3 really large bills all coming due at the same time. It just never happens. So once every 2 weeks, I have it on my calendar to go into my checking account and reset it at $5,000. So if it's too low, I'll pull a little bit out of the Vanguard account. If it's too high, I'll push a little bit into Vanguard. Savings is at $0. I think savings accounts are a complete waste of time, especially with today's interest rates. I just don't think it's a good place for any of our dollars to live. They're either in the checking account trying to do short-term stuff, or I'm trying to make that money grow rapidly. Oh, and I have everything ranked from most liquid to least liquid on here. So next up, we've got the taxable brokerage account and the health savings account. This is money that there's a good chance I'm going to touch some of it at some point this year. So it's pretty darn liquid. And as far as what we have it invested in, I've got about 1/3 of it in VTI, 1/3 in VEA, and 1/3 in VNQ, which is real estate. And basically, I'm not super strict with it, but I was looking for 3 different funds that had good long-term growth prospects, but also that were not super correlated with each other. So I'm pretty happy with it so far. On any given day, usually at least one of those 3 is doing okay. So I think it keeps everything a bit more steady. I'm not really willing to invest in bonds. I don't think they have enough return for someone who's looking for long-term growth like me. In fact, I have another video about why we like doing 100% equities. The money in this bucket is also used for bank bonus churning. So at any given time, I might be moving some of that around where I sign up for checking accounts and they might require a big direct deposit or a bunch of money to sit there for a while. So the money also doubles for that. So I consider my emergency fund to be kind of a combination of my checking account and my taxable brokerage account. If you're interested in signing up for checking and savings promotions, I would recommend going to doctorofcredit.com, or there's some good Facebook groups. I think it's like Bank Bonus Churning 101 or something like that. And you can learn it there. It's kind of beyond the scope of the videos that I do, but it's a hobby that I do where it requires several $1,000s to be set aside for kind of shuffling it around those accounts. Okay, next up, we've got the money in my 457B. So that's my retirement account for teachers. And that money, if I want to, I can withdraw it, and I'll have to pay the taxes on it, but there's no further penalty. So it's really similar to a traditional IRA, except just pretend that I'm already 65 and I can already pull this money out. So that's slightly less liquid than the taxable account. So far, I haven't touched the 457B yet, but we might someday. We've got about $13,000 in Roth conversions. So that's traditional IRA funds that have been converted to a Roth account. Once 5 years go by, this money becomes almost as accessible as the money that's up here. And then next up we have money in the Roth IRA, which is a little harder to get to than the converted Roth stuff, because this is just growth that's happened in the Roth. And we've got the traditional IRA. We have a ton in there. We were really aggressively hitting the pre-tax accounts, so a lot of our wealth is in the 457B and traditional IRAs. And that money's just not going to be touched for probably the next 15 years. Our home is currently worth about $185,000, and we currently owe a mortgage of $100,000 on it. We just refinanced it at 2.5%. And I like to include my car in our net worth because it's not the most liquid thing in the world, but if I ever wanted to sell our $15,000 car and go buy a $2,000 car and pocket the $13,000 in cash, I could do that. It would only take me a week or two, and I could probably pull that off. So I include it. Once every year, I knock about $1,000 off the estimated value of the car for depreciation. In fact, it was worth $16,000 when I bought it about a year or so ago. But yeah, that's a snapshot of where we currently have all our money parked, and not really looking to make any big changes, I don't think. This is very similar to what we were doing 3 years ago. We've been pretty happy with it overall. One last thing that I like to do is the $15,000 or so that I use for bank bonus churning, or sometimes it's invested in my taxable account. I also do a little bit of market timing with it. So anytime prices drop by more than 5%, I buy additional shares, and every time they go up by more than 5%, I sell some shares. That ended up making our net worth stay a lot more steady during the initial onset of the pandemic. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm betting the vast majority of my money on long-term growth, but I'm betting some of my money on short-term volatility. That's just my personal strategy for what we've been doing. It feels good when the market goes down by 5 or 10% to be buying something. So I like to have a little bit of money that's kind of constantly swooshing around, buying when the stock market has a really bad day, selling when it has a good day, or maybe doing some of those bank bonus churns with the checking accounts. That's about it. Thanks for watching.